Please hit the button.
Yeah.
Guys, you know I love sports.
You do.
But right now, sports aren't sportsing like I want them to, and that really puts me in a bummer of a mood. But thanks to FanDuel, I can make sports happen whenever I want on cue because FanDuel is whipping up daily boosts and bonus every day during the summer. That's right. There's something for everyone every day during the summer as long as you're using FanDuel, whether it's the Derby,
you can
whether
bet
it's Major League Baseball
Summer League games,
Summer League games, the WNBA. If you can dream up a bet, you can bet it on FanDuel. So make sure you guys tune into FanDuel.com/UCSS to get your daily FanDuel fixes. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and the official sportsbook partner of Major League Baseball.
That's pretty impressive, Mike.
Great that bull.
That's pretty impressive.
I'm giving him an A+ on that one.
Yeah, I do too.
It's an A+
No
grade.
script, off the top of his head. You know what? I think he emoted a little more because he wasn't tied to the script.
That's right.
He knows that material. He killed it.
Yeah.
And my favorite line is sports just aren't sportsing.
No, they're not.
Like they're supposed to.
You guys got to give me the new copy. I've been reading the old copy.
Yeah.
I've been Ultimate Browns has been talking about the NBA playoffs.
No, that's not good.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Boy, but the excitement between NBA playoffs and NBA Summer League.
Yeah.
I mean,
not a big difference.
No, they're right there.
Right here. Listen, man. Hey, shout out to Jalen. Listen, Mr. Tyson. I like him too. I like him too.
He's got a new poster boy.
I got a new one. They not listen. DJ, he's not getting that many minutes.
No. Not yet.
Not yet. But see, Tyson, I like it.
Well, we'll get back to that later. But we got to talk about this draft pick. We started talking about it in Major League Baseball, and then we obviously had all the great guests that we had. But first of all, it's funny because Zach Meisel and I, as I mentioned earlier, we did the Guardian show at 8 o'clock this morning. Go back and watch it if you haven't seen it later. And he said to me, had you ever talked about the baseball draft ever in Cleveland before?
Never.
And I said, not really.
Why would we?
Maybe after the draft, we'd interview like the coach of the player, maybe the first round pick, but certainly we never talked about it before the draft. But with the Guardians having the first overall pick for the first time ever,
which is almost unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Can you tell me why that happened for the people that don't know the draft?
Why they got the first pick or why they never had it
before?
Unbelievably, I mean, until a couple of years ago, it went based on record. So as bad as the Indians at the time were from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, when they sucked all those years into the early 90s, they never had the worst record.
That's the incredible part.
It's amazing.
Because that was my life back then.
They stunk every year.
This is a true story. When I was about 10, I used to wait for the newspaper to come every day so I could look at the box scores, and I would always study the standings. And the deal was that by the 4th of July, the Indians were completely out of contention. That was the old American League East days.
Yeah.
You had the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Orioles in that division. At the time, the Orioles were very good.
Yeah.
And literally, it was my love for baseball and to stay involved in July, August, and September. All I wanted them to do was to win 70 games and not finish last place.
Yeah, right.
That was what I was. That was my bar. It was never to be in a pennant race, and they were awful for so many years. But Bull, the amazing part is, they never had the worst record.
Right. And the funny thing is, now the last 2 years, they're doing a lottery like they do in other sports, or in basketball, and I think hockey. But the Guardians did not have a good chance.
2%.
It was 2%. I think they had the 9th best odds.
Yeah.
And they had, ended up with the top pick. And, there was debate who the top pick was, certainly. I think there were 3 or 4 guys, certainly, in that mix, depending on who you like. But did
they get it right to you?
I think they did.
I said before the draft, my son was in, and we talked about it. Who do you want? I said, we want Bazzana. We want the kid from Oregon State.
I said Bazzana or Condon. I would have been, either one would have been fine.
Yeah.
I think.
Why were you not high on Caglione? Because everybody was.
I think my concern with him is he had a lot of swing and miss.
Yeah. And this guy doesn't.
Oh, my gosh. I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I think he had 75 walks and like 50 strikeouts this year.
You're right in the ball. It's 36
like
strikeouts.
Okay, like even less, 70. Right. Yeah.
And the amazing
thing
is,
that's crazy.
So with guys like Quan, who also went to Oregon State.
Yeah, and they have a good relationship.
They do. They never played there together, and they had different coaches, but they do have a good relationship.
Yeah.
The thing with Quan is he's a high contact guy.
Yeah.
I have to say that I think Bazzana is in the elite contact category.
Yeah,
and here's why. There's different metrics that measure that, but the big one is barrel. He's 42% barrel strike.
Right.
That's unheard of. That not only was that best in college, it was best in college by an eye-popping amount. That when you look at who's second, you're like, what's this guy doing that he's that much better than everybody else?
How was he? And he's a second baseman, but when I watched the draft and I'm watching some of the highlights, he has tremendous power for a guy that is not that big.
He's got sweet swing.
I mean, when you talk about Condon, he hit a lot of home runs, but Bazzana hit a lot of home runs as well. Like
Bazzana hit 400.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously he's got a great eye. He's got a great feel for the strike zone. I was texting with my man Mike Farron from MLB Radio, who's a huge college baseball guy, and he said nobody's going to outwork this kid. Nobody.
Wow, that's what you love to hear.
He's a baseball. He loves baseball, eats, sleep. He already talked about in the interview. They had some technical issues on MLB last night, but he was saying how he wants to be like a beacon for other kids in Australia, and he wants them to learn about baseball. He wants to become big in Australia. He's the first second baseman ever to go first overall,
which is stunning.
First Australian to go first overall, which is not stunning, but because you haven't had a lot of great Australian players. Dave Nielsen, remember Dave Nielsen for the Brewers?
I think he's got the record for the most home runs in the
not a lot.
100?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
The thing that impresses me the most, and you mentioned it, that he's the equivalent to a gym rat. I'd call him a dugout rat.
Yeah.
What I loved most about him was today's game is analytics. I don't care,
100%.
Whether you embrace it fully or you bring part of it into the fold, it's about analytics. This young man is so impressive that he put together a 90-minute presentation.
Wow.
To give to the pitchers at Oregon State.
Yeah.
To tell them, as a hitter who has studied his craft, what pitches guys are going to chase, when they're going to chase them. He has a 13% swing rate at sliders. The reason that's so important is because the slider is a chase pitch. It's a pitch that has obviously changed speeds, but you throw the slider to make it look like it's a fastball coming in one spot. Guys get juicy, they dive at it, and the pitch is away from their swing or sometimes into their swing. To only chase at 13% of the sliders he saw this year might be the most impressive stat around this kid. His plate discipline isn't elite. It's of another world.
Yeah. It's everything about him is positive. He played in the Cape Cod League, which is the best wood bat league last summer. He was the MVP of the Cape Cod League. His strikeout.
He won the batting title too.
And his strikeout to walk there was 18 strikeouts, 18 walks there. So that's wood bat, best players in the country.
Sure,
all competing there at different ages, different levels. And there's really nothing not to like about him. You never know. Listen, it's a draft. You never know how a guy's going to pan out. But his baseball IQ is through the roof. His instincts are through the roof. He's not his defense. Somebody was telling me his defense is a little behind the offense.
Oh, really?
A little bit. Not that he's bad defensively.
Yeah, I read that he was an above-average defender.
Yeah, but he's not like
not elite.
His offense is almost ready to play in the big leagues.
Sure.
His defense needs a little more work. There's a possibility they might move him off second, but I don't think so.
What are we doing?
And I'd like him to stay at second.
No, I don't think they'll move him.
I don't think so either. But
you've got a guy at second base. It's a natural shortstop anyhow.
Right. Jimenez this offseason, they're going to move him
back to short.
And what I like about this, too, I don't think they did it for this reason. This opens up even more possibilities at the trade deadline in the next 2 weeks because now you don't worry. Like, it was always like, who's going to be the shortstop?
Sure.
Well, now it's going to be Jimenez.
Now you know.
This kid's going to be a second baseman at the very latest by summer next year. He's got to. I would think he's in the big league.
Now
I would start him in Akron. I would not start him in A-ball. I'd start him in Akron.
They haven't said yet, have they?
No, not yet.
Jay came in immediately, and the first thing you said, and this is what we want to talk about. I'm trying to see him. What's we doing it today?
Well, Jay wants him up in September. I would like to also.
Yeah, when the rosters expand, bring them in.
Yeah.
I think Stephen Vogt, his track record is. Let's take a look. Let's kick the tires.
Yeah. Now we got to see how he plays in the minors.
I was just going to say that. My caveat is if he goes 171 with no power in the minors, okay, we all jumped the gun. He's not ready. Here's the one thing I liked about him was that he tweeted out, I think Friday night, I hope the Guardians take me number one because I really want to be with them in September and October and help them win a World Series.
I like that.
Now,
I like it.
I loved it and I hated it. I hated it because I'm like, oh, God, don't put that bullseye on your own back. But I loved it because it tells you baseball's all about confidence. Baseball players are some of the most confident people you'll ever meet in any section of life. They are confident. He has it in spades. He's not afraid to do the work. And things could go sideways if he reports to Akron, but he's already proven that whatever level he plays at, and I think I'm glad you brought up the Cape Cod League because the wooden bat transition is the biggest question mark.
Yeah.
The fact that he went to the Cape Cod League and swung the lumber and swung it well tells me that it's not going to be that big of a transition between the college game and the professional game. It's rare, and you know this, it's rare that guys are drafted as hitters and make it to the big leagues that year.
Oh,
it doesn't happen.
Almost never happens.
It doesn't happen. Now,
well, you see, Wyatt Langford was drafted last year. He started the season in the big leagues.
He did.
And Paul Skeens has obviously been fantastic. Well, he's a once-in-a-lifetime prospect.
Did you I watched the kid from Wake Forest. There was I think in April I'd asked you, have you seen this kid from Wake Forest?
Yeah.
The pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I watched him, I fell in love with him.
Yeah.
His numbers were they're similar to Paul's. And
he's throwing 100.
But here's what I didn't like about him, and I'm glad the Guardians didn't take him, and I don't know if this factored into their position. He's got a violent delivery. He is violent.
I mean, that's part of it. I think also they were taught there was a little concern about his command also.
Yeah, well, he is a little dicey there.
And he's got more
his average fastball is like 98.
Yeah, I mean, his upside is through the roof. But he's also got a lower floor than Bazzana does.
I was fearful that just watching his violent delivery, it reminded me when I first saw Clevenger, I said, I love this kid. But I don't know how much he's got in his tank because usually when you throw his release point, it's very explosive and lot of
pitching injuries are just so prevalent now.
Yeah, so I love this pick all the way around. I dream. Can you imagine having two Oregon State guys at 1-2 in your lineup? Yeah. So and then you go Hosey and Naylor.
Right.
Like that is a core four at the top of a lineup that
could be special.
That's how you start thinking World Series contender every year if you can keep them together.
And I was just going to ask, is he a natural two-hole hitter? Or, do you see him moving into the three? Or how does that shift as is his numbers and his power as he grows into his body?
Probably more of a 3 or 4.
I mean, it could be.
I don't know if he'll be that here.
Right. I think, they need a two-hitter desperately.
They do.
And I don't know if he's going to be right away, but because of his ability to get on base, not just hit, but get on base.
His hitting line was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, think about now again, is it going to translate right away to the majors? But in theory, if he takes what he's done at Oregon State, and you have Quan and him getting on base like they've been able to ahead of Jose and Naylor, like you're going to have a crazy amount of RBI opportunities.
Here's the one thing I have to constantly remind myself, and I pump my brakes, and I'm not trying to offset my argument that we'll see him in September.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, it will make sense when you hear it. When you see these guys feasting on college pitching,
sure.
1 out of every 12 or 15 guys they face is big league or professional quality pitching. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not big league quality, is professional caliber pitching. You're supposed to feast on that.
That's right. Yeah.
The reason that pitchers can get to the bigs, it's like skills players in the NFL. Mm-hmm. A wide receiver and a running back can have an immediate impact because what they do translates.
Sure.
The pitching translates. If you get guys out, you get guys out. The big fear with Bazzana is he hasn't seen elite pitching every day.
No, especially in the Pac-12. Especially in the Pac-12. It's not as good a conference as the SEC.
It's not like the SEC or ACC.
So, but I think what he does translates, but until he does it consistently, and that's why obviously he's going to spend some time in the minors.
There'll be a learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. But, it's an exciting pick. There was not a clear number one.
No.
And Condon, for whatever it's worth, I'm not saying it's going to go, it means he's not going to be good. He did struggle in the Wooden Bat League last summer. Bazzana was better in the Wooden Bat League, and that matters. And I think there's a higher percentage of better pitchers that you're facing.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Right? Those guys are all major. They're prospects.
Exactly.
You might play in the Pac-12, and 3 out of every 4 or 5 pitchers you face might be in their last stage of their career.
Right, and they're good pitchers, but not major league
next
good.
level. The one other thing I want to talk to you about, Caglione. I saw the Royals got him, I think, at 5. 6.
Yeah.
They're going to use him as a pitcher, too.
Oh, they did say that?
Yeah,
I hadn't heard that.
They're going to use him as a pitcher as well.
We talked to your guy, I forget, last week. He talked about the reason he didn't know if they're going to use him as a pitcher because he threw a lot of balls out of the side of the strike zone.
Yeah.
And command was an issue.
You can work on you can fix that.
He's throwing 90 plus. I'm like, listen,
he's
guy
throwing 99.
He's a hard thrower.
You know what? 90 plus doesn't really matter anymore. It's 95 plus.
You're right. No, 95 is the new 90.
Yes.
And 100 is the new 95.
Yes. 100%.
I'm not sure if you guys mentioned this about Bazzana, but just one more thing. They showed it on the broadcast last night. The list of hitters that have come through Oregon State's program is incredible. Just
very
the last
impressive.
couple of years.
Yeah.
Stephen Quan and Adley Rutschman, who was the number 1 overall pick 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Bazzana has more hits than any of them and more homers
than
any
he has
of them.
The new record.
In both hits and home runs from a second base position, which, you don't think of a second baseman being a super power hitter.
No.
And we'll see how it translates to the pros.
Right. Look, if he
has more home runs than Rutschman did, who was the Golden Spikes winner, I mean, that dude reset the record book at Oregon.
Well, he could be.
I did it again.
And by the way, he's got good speed, not elite speed, but he's got such good instincts that he's a really good base stealer.
Yep.
And so I could see him quickly being a 2020 guy.
Have you seen his style at stealing bases with the running lead?
I love it.
I love it too.
Love that.
First of all, I love the story about. I was talking to Jim Bowden, the old general manager of the Reds and the Nats.
Yeah.
He actually placed a phone call to a guy in his conference that he saw doing that. He found his number and he called him. He's like, okay, I got to talk to you about this.
Wow.
And the player shared the information with him, which I love because they're in the same conference.
Yeah, sure.
Usually the kid was probably so stunned.
Yeah.
Wow, wait, who are you and where do you play? Okay, well, here's what I do. And so he told him, I can't believe more guys don't do it.
I know.
It's
you got to have good instincts,
You do. If your instincts are wrong, you're at a huge disadvantage.
Right.
But if your instincts are, first of all, the reason I love it, you're throwing another mental element into the pitcher's head.
Absolutely.
And anytime as a pitcher, anytime you can get something mental in a pitcher's head, you're on your way to victory. So I think we might see, I hope he tries that with the Guardians if he gets the opportunity. Now, I don't know what their stance is on it.
Guardians be having hand. Bring that back.
They may, but they may say, here, flirt around with it in Akron.
Yeah.
If you have success with it, until it's proven to put you at a disadvantage, let's try it. And it could be one of those things that changes the game at the big league level. Who knows?
No doubt. It's exciting. It's
fun.
another fun thing to watch. The Guardians are already a fun team. All right, now we got to get some trades. Pitchers. Operation Stockpile, G. Bush. 2 pitchers, 1 more hitter. Let's go. Go ahead.
Let me do